Record. Hi, welcome to my eclipse astrology breakdown. As usual, I'm Shantae Out Loud, and today we're going to be talking about the solar eclipse in astrology. I'm doing this on Instagram Live as well as on my Zoom Live right now. So I am doing this to record here on Instagram to later put and post up on my YouTube page. So to be honest, I thought this would be a good idea to kind of start this off. I can't tell you how perfect this Cardi B and Offset situation is for what this eclipse astrology is and has been for really the last, like, I guess technically, like almost a year now, right? We've been kind of learning and dealing and growing through the Aries and Libra eclipse axis with the new moon, or excuse me, North Node in Aries and the South Node in the sign of Libra. And so, what we're experiencing right now, I think more than anything, especially with that Mars square that's touching the North Node and South Node, and also right now touching those Libra planets, primarily the Sun and shortly Mercury, we are really getting and tapping into the focus of what the freak it means for us to actually care about ourselves. And I think that this Cardi B and Offset situation is a great, it's just a great like case study as an astrologer on exactly why this transit is happening as it is. And I say that because we're talking about Libra energy. Remember, the South Node is closely conjunct Libra energy. We know that Cardi is a Libra. But outside of that, what we really begin to experience and consider when we're talking about Libra energy is the doles of balance. When I was thinking about it this morning, I was thinking about the number 6, right? How things are even or uneven. They balance out. We know that a Libra represents the scale. And what we're experiencing right now is, and what Cardi appears to be experiencing, right, is a spiritual lesson or a spiritual consequence when we don't do the work that we're supposed to do on ourselves. And that's essentially what is happening with Libra energy and Libra placements, right? Libra energy and Libra placements can get super obsessed with overextending themselves and doing and over giving to the part of literally eclipsing themselves. Ironic, right? Eclipsing their own energy, eclipsing their own desires, eclipsing their own passions, often the in the best interest of all parties involved, right? In the best interest of the partnership, in the best interest of the people who surround us. And what that does is it makes us people pleasers, it sucks up our energy, it breeds insecurity. It makes us learn to make choices that are born of those insecurities. And these things just stack up, and we all ultimately find ourselves in this area of lack of self-care, lack of self-dignity, right? And we have to consider that when we're talking about this energy touching so closely to the South Node when it's opposite the North Node in the sign of Aries, which is all about being dignified, right? It's all about knowing who I am, what I stand for, my strength, mine, as my own individual person, which is really hard for Libra. You know, I think I've said it before. I've dated Venus and Libras, and it's fun while it's fun, but my Venus and Aries at the end of the day can do and does do things that they will consider selfish. And I will sometimes or have sometimes played that game and watched them with that inner struggle because they don't want to self advocate. They don't want to unlearn the let me just go with the flow and pretend that things are okay when they're actually not. And what we talk about a lot with Libra and Venusian energy, and especially when Venus is placed in Libra, Venus in Libra is most likely to do those self sacrifices. Venus in Taurus, oh no, honey, I'm going to make sure we're comfortable first and that I have all the things I need. But Venus in Libra, I mean, I think I can go without if you are with me. Taurus is like, I will go without nothing. That's how Venus operates. I will go without nothing. That's how Venus operates in Taurus. But when we talk about Libra energy, it kind of operates in a way where it's like, ooh, I really don't want to rock the boat. I really want to be a part of this group. I really want to, make something feel like it works for all of us, even though I'm eroding my own personhood by pretending that this is working for me when I know it's not. And so, what we are kind of coming face to face with, because the ruler of this eclipse, my friends, is in the sign of Venus, right? Because Libra energy is ruled by Venus. The sun and the moon will be in Libra. That's why a solar eclipse is happening. Well, we have to say who's the ruler of Libra but the planet Venus. And guess where Venus is now? Scorpio, where it finds its detriment. So this is actually our second Libra eclipse this year, where Venus has been in the sign of its detriment. And unfortunately, with Venus in Scorpio, we've got to talk about some of the negative aspects of that. We have to discuss why Venus in Scorpio is at detriment. Venus in Scorpio is at detriment because it feels like a lot of fear, right? When I'm dealing with Venus in Scorpio, I can be super nervous about things blowing up in my face. Venus in Scorpio can be fearful of the vulnerability. They yearn for it in other people, but they are sometimes really building up a strong wall and not giving it to others due to insecurities, due to fear of being, screwed over, due to things from their past that have happened, just natural distrust, right? Sometimes Venus in Scorpio, when it's not working well, will be manipulative, right? So maybe playing with people, playing with people's minds, especially because Scorpio understands psychology so well, literally playing manipulative mind games. And, people don't talk about it enough for me, but like Libra energy has a lot of manipulation because when you're people pleasing, that's what you're doing. You think, oh, but I just want everyone to get along. Why are you trying to control other people? What if I don't want to get along with this bitch? I had a Libra boss, and I remember it was like, well, you just need to be nice. And it was like, I don't respect this person, so I'm not going to pretend that I have a lot of respect to them. I'll be professional, but I don't want to hang out with them. So this focus comes in with Venus and Scorpio, and it's guarded and it's shielded, and it doesn't necessarily believe that it is capable of receiving the love and the depth and the vulnerability that it requires in order for the safety to exist, because a lot of it is Venus and Scorpio does have a hard time feeling that safety and stability are hand in hand because they're afraid that it's going to rock in one way or the other. We think of this and we think about how this energy, Venus and Scorpio energy, is trying to Mars and Cancer. Another aspect that is in detriment. Mars doesn't like Cancer. Talking about Mars and Cancer, we're talking about some manipulative energy sometimes. Being emotionally manipulative, right? Being emotionally manipulative because there's this feeling of, look, I'm supposed to help this person understand the depth of their emotions when it's not necessarily your job to do that. And now you're frustrated because people aren't ready to meet you where you're calling them towards. But who said you're the one who gets to call people forward in their emotions? Especially when a lot of times they're mirroring your lack of ability to deal with your emotions and come to terms with how you're feeling. So now you're in a cycle with relationships with people where you're like, this always happens. We always come to this place. Well, you're also coming to this place. So who is always coming to this place? Because these people are meeting you where you're at. So if people are meeting you where you at, and that's the thing with Mars and Cancer, it does and it can breed insecurity, lack of trust, challenges in emotional security, challenges in intimate security, challenges in privacy, challenges in nurturing and stability, being able to give or receive that are themes that might show up. And so, what we are seeing with this is a lot of things being recognized. I think people are coming to terms with how they've maybe been used by others in their lives. I think people are coming to terms with the fact that their insecurities are the focus of why they're making the choices that they're making. And unfortunately, there's nowhere to run and play victim anymore. You are no longer being afforded. And that's part of this new eclipse cycle we're headed into in Virgo and Pisces too. You are no longer allowed to be an innocent bystander in your own suffering. That is not a thing anymore. You are a part of this suffering that you continue to endure, especially as we're heading into North Node, getting ready to move into Pisces, this sign that talks about cycles, right? When I go back to what I said about Libra and that scale and sixes, I'm specifically thinking, do I have tarot cards near me? Do I have tarot cards near me? Of course she does. I'm specifically thinking of the six, oh Lord Jesus. I'm specifically thinking of the Six of Cups. Because the Six of Cups has all of these ideas about love, right? And so usually when people look at the Six of Cups, I'm pulling out my Buffy the Vampire Slayer, by the way. This is a cute deck. I found this at Marshall's one day. It was so random. And somebody clearly had put it to come back to it. And I was like, psych your mind, bitch, it's mine. Sorry. But I don't want to like get off subject too much. But the Six of Cups, right? People are so obsessed with this idea of like, oh, it's love and it's handing over these cups of love. And it's like, yeah, it is. But this is more of a call to realize what we're accepting, right? Not every time a person hands a cups of love over to me are they cups I've wanted. I've had some cups handed to me. I've tried some things in some cups, guys, and they haven't always tasted the best. And I've spat them out, and I've broken the cup, and I've run away. And so in this same way, when we're thinking of sixes, we're thinking also about what is inner comes outwardly. And so in this way, we are kind of being forced to think about like, well, what have I poured into myself that has maybe shown up in my material? Because that's a big part of Venus. Venus is six for a lot of reasons. And one of those reasons being, is this a Six of Cups? I think so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. Here's the Six of Cups. This is my Buffy the Vampire deck. I think this is, I can't remember who this is. It's her besties who've fallen in love. Sorry, YouTube, I forgot. So as you can see, it's like, look, we're together. And it's a soulmate card, a lot of people say. Well, sometimes the soulmates that we manifest are quite literally a mirror of who we are and where we're at. And sometimes in those mirrors, we are forced to come to terms with our insecurities. We're forced to come to terms with people who are not of our own insecurities that are being projected through the relationship that we are experiencing with another person. And as we're navigating what that means and what that looks like for us, right, we have to stop and finally take some accountability and some responsibility for not allowing that stuff anymore. And I think that that's where, you know, everyone is going to be as we're looking at this eclipse. Because to me, like solar eclipses are, you know, the lunar eclipse is the big moon, right? It's the revelation in some of its ways. Well, the solar eclipse, because the sun and the moon are operating from the same exact position in the sky, they are on top of each other and crossing each other. What we are seeing cannot be ignored. As we head into Tuesday, If next week something comes up that you can no longer just kind of bypass and ignore. And it probably has to do with an unhealthy thing that you've been indulging in, an unhealthy dynamic of a relationship or a relationship to a substance. People don't talk about it a lot, but Libra does have a lot of addiction themes that come up. This is a good time for a quote unquote love addict to maybe be thinking about how their relationship is manifesting, or how their relationships, have manifested up to this point. Oh, shoot. I'm losing y'all. Okay, there we go. I'm getting ready to pull now and share my screen for this Zoom broadcast. I want to just show you guys the chart because I really love this chart. And it's obviously going to be based out of San Diego. So this chart is really powerful because at the core of this Libra eclipse, is that it? Yeah, perfect. At the core of this Libra eclipse, this eclipse is a Sagittarius rising, first of all. And I love that this eclipse is a Sag rising because, hey, I'm a Sag rising. And this energy of the eclipses falls in the areas of the chart that, first of all, has to do with value. So by this, I mean the Sag rising energy falls in the in the first house of the chart, but it's showing up in the 5th and the 11th house of the actual chart of the Libra eclipse. And so anyone who knows and understands houses knows that the 5th and the 11th house make up the 4 housing group that we call the succedent houses. Succedent houses have a lot to do with values. So our second house has to do with the inner value, what we're talented, what we are intaking that we regard as being valuable. The 5th house has to do with our entertainment, what we're willing to put money towards that we think is valuable, what we like, what we're passionate about, what we really find deep level interest in, what we want to create. The 8th house has to do with the resources of value. What do we see as being worthy of long-term value, marriage, debt that we take on for necessary reasons, mortgages, right? Or car payments. And 11th house having to do with our value for our dreams, our future, our friendships, our communities, our goals, and our vision for the future of our lives, and in many cases, the lives of others. Well, when we're looking at these 2 houses and we're seeing that the sun and the moon and Mercury is conjunct the sun and the moon, so there's a cazimi happening, just kind of coming down off of it. At the same time, we are super thinking about the long-term reality of where we are with regard to our values. So what is the long term if our values, and what are our values? You guys know, I always say, in my opinion, values have a lot to do with what we are choosing, right? If I choose to spend my money on fast food, then it would be fair to say that I don't necessarily value my health. If I choose to overspend my money and buy YSL bags instead of paying my rent, it's easy to see that I might value YSL more than I do value over making sure I maintain my rent and a roof over my head, right? And you know where values start? Choice. Choice is always what eclipses are about. Eclipses are always going to bring choices to the forefront, choices that you either want to make, whether you want to make them or not, they are bringing a choice for you. And so with this energy here in the 11th house, collectively, we're experiencing, here is what our choices show us. We've made choices up to this point. Now we have to decide, do we like what we've received based on these choices? And it doesn't mean that we don't have more work to do to continue to choose. We're always choosing, but that's the key. Are we choosing what we really value? I want to talk about the other aspects that show up, especially because this energy is closely squaring off with the eighth house. This is why with Mars in Cancer, like I said, so the 11th and the eighth house are aspecting. So this is about long-term investments that have a lot to do with goals, that have a lot to do with community, that have a lot to do with resources. Maybe when we're talking eighth and 11th house, this is usually like a transit where people are like, okay, I said I wanted a house by the time I was 35. I'm 35 now. What do I, or, maybe I'm 32 now. What do I need to do to create the circumstances that in 3 years I have enough money to put down on a house, right? I know that that's a debt that I'm willing to incur because I value owning my own home, having my own space, having space that I don't have to share so closely with other people. This is a long-term goal. I'm seeing that, you know what? I'm overspending money on vacations. And a lot of the money that I spend on those vacations, I could be putting in, my savings account and building up equity so I can really get into this new house. You know what? I've really been saying I want to make extra money in this way, and I really want to try to use maybe my gifts to make this extra money. In order for me to do it, I'm going to have to put myself out there on social media in a way that is not comfortable for me and feels super awkward. But this is what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and make a plan for how I'm going to start putting myself out there. Maybe more often, I'm going to start recording myself doing things in my mundane life. I'm going to start recording, talking about shows I like. Now I'm talking about myself. But these are things that we're thinking about with 8th and 11th house energy. You're thinking about long term. We're also thinking of where we are. Well, like, is there a reason that you haven't already started saving for that house? Is there a reason that you haven't already started recording those videos for your YouTube or Instagram page? Is it because you say you have this value, you say you want to receive the value from doing these things? Well, let's look at your choices you're making. You bought the lights, right? You maybe have been on Zillow like nobody's business looking at that house, but you haven't actually done anything. You haven't visualized, you haven't made a habit, you haven't chosen to make a habit out of something that you need in order to continuously get it done, in order to continuously be manifesting it towards yourself. Want to talk about Venus as well. So Venus and Mars are actually in a trine to each other. And when Venus and Mars are trining, especially in water signs, sometimes this can either be, I feel super empowering and I'm ready to go, I'm ready to heal. That's where we want to be with Venus and Mars together in Scorpio and Cancer. But unfortunately, with the 8th and the 12th house energy here, we might want to play the blame game instead. Oh, if it weren't for, the seeing my parents divorce when I was 5 years old, I'd be, better. Oh, if it weren't for, the fact that my boss really gets on me at work, I just wouldn't come home and fall over. Oh, if it weren't, all of the if it weren't fors can definitely show up with Venus and Scorpio trine Mars and Cancer. Everybody's got a sob story, babe. Everyone. The key is to use this energy to quit the tears. Take it where you need to take it. You know what? Venus and Scorpio, I do have a hard time trusting. I do feel like people are trying to be emotionally manipulative. Maybe instead of building that wall and being defensive or continuing to get into the motion of love of routines with people where these sorts of things come up, maybe I need to work on building my intuition. Maybe I need to work on listening to myself. When I get a vibe, when I catch a feeling, when I read or hear or see something that gives me a weird feel, I need to investigate. Maybe I need to work on opening up my throat chakra. I need to learn how to communicate. When I get a feeling or a vibe from someone, I need to learn how to be direct about it and say, here's how I'm feeling. Here's what I'm noticing. What can we do about this so I can feel better? How can I best suit myself and self soothe myself to heal through this? This Venus Mars stuff is really triggering our insecurities. It's really triggering the heartstrings there. Are there things, it can even be bringing up things from the past. It could be bringing up people from the past, people who, you made mistakes with, who made a mistake with you. It's pulling at the heartstrings here. Hey, I've recognized that this is a pattern I've enacted, and I think I might have enacted it within our relationship, within the parameters of our relationship. I need you to know that I don't want to do this. This is not who I want to be anymore. Maybe this is you and your relationship with yourself. Wow, I think I've violated my own boundaries a lot with myself. I think I've disregarded myself. I think I've disrespected myself. Go ahead and cry them tears, because at the end of the day, Venus is in Scorpio and Mars is in Cancer. Get it out, cry it out. But then we get to make better choices. We get to make different choices. Now, if we are dealing with Venus and Scorpio and Mars in Cancer, the difference, the issue with those two planets and those two signs is there's fear surrounding security. Well, now I need to face it head on and say, well, what does make me feel secure? Have I ever resonated with the feeling of security before? When I feel secure, because if I haven't ever resonated or felt that security before, then maybe that's why, if it does show up at my doorstep, I malign it, I run away from it, I self-sabotage through it. You don't have to choose that anymore, right? Especially with this energy here that is the Venus and Mars are also, we've got a grand water trine, because this is also making a trine with Saturn in Aries. I'm sorry, in Pisces. Venus, Saturn, and Mars are saying, cut the shit and give yourself what you need. I even think about this energy as it applies to like more of the 11th house. People don't talk about the 11th house as a house of potential mentorships or teachers, but this can be a time where you're like, you know what? I need an accountability coach. A lot of this, Libra Aries eclipse has been like, it's okay to seek support from people who are living the life you want to live, have the skills that you need to learn to apply to your life. You do not need to be ashamed of needing to seek outside guidance. People who know what they're doing, people who know what they're talking about, people who got letters and numbers and more shit behind their name. If it's going to make you a better person, do it. If it's going to stop your addiction to love, it's going to stop your addiction to overspending, because at the core here, there's a value issue. So be it. That's what this Venus, this Venusian and detrimental Scorpio eclipse in Libra wants you to reconcile with. It's really beautiful energy, and I'm super excited for what we can potentially see out of it. So let's kind of go into the transits of this a little bit, the horoscopes of this. I'm not going to go super hard for you, Instagram. You have to become a patron, or head over to Patreon for the long wind, or YouTube. But I want to do it by like cadence, succedent, and angular houses. So if you are a Aries, Libra, Capricorn, or Cancer rising, this energy is falling in the angular aspects of your chart. So this is going to be the first house of self, the fourth house of home, family, and inner life and privacy, the seventh house of your relationship with other people in your life and mirrors that show up, and your 10th house of outer life, public, and career. So if you are Aries, Libra, Capricorn, or Cancer rising, this has a lot to do with the dynamics that make or break who you are. This could be themes coming up about your family, themes coming up about your work life, where you see yourself in the here and now, where you're at currently. This is like home stuff. So, are you comfortable at home? Is this house enough for you? Are you comfortable with who you're living with? There is a lot of focus here on, a need to double down, reconcile with the insecurities that you might have and feel, because they're real. Reconcile with the fact that maybe you can sometimes be a little overly reckless with yourself, with your money, because I think that that's a theme for you guys too. And start making the moves you need to habitually build new patterns of thinking, of doing in your life that are going to support your best self. If you are let me see. I guess if you are a Sagittarius, Gemini, Virgo, or Pisces rising, this energy is going to be falling in the succedent areas of your chart, which I've talked about. So this is houses 2, house of intake, house of value, house of work, house of talent and gifts. The 5th house, house of entertainment, pleasure, fun, love, creativity. The 8th house of resources of home, resources of family, inner psychology, physiology, depth and occult. And the 11th house of technology in the future, what's next, the communities that we're a part of, and our goals. So you guys have a lot to think about where you place your values. And some of where you are spending your time, money, or whatever you value has a lot to do with your day-to-day routines, right? How do you build the value that you say you want in your life in a way that's really valuable for you? You say you want this thing, what are you willing to do? Mutable risings. Then we move into who will be next? My fixed rising. So my Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius risings. This energy is in your cadence houses. So this is falling in house 3 of communication, kind of primary explorative thoughts and actions, short trips. The 6th house of the day-to-day mundane, everything you do on a regular basis. People who live with you, people who work with you, people who just surround you really closely. Your 9th house, so this can be managers, people who you work with, people who are above you in information or knowledge. This also might be justice, the courthouse, spiritual identity, spiritual work. And the 12th house, which is the integration of these things. So this is our past, this is our subconscious. These are the quiet habits and routines that we're attached to that maybe no one knows about. So this is something that for, you cardinal people, you fixed signs, you guys have a lot to do with your inner self and how you assert your boundaries for getting what it is that you're trying to build into your life. This might mean needing to cut the phone off at 6 p.m. if that's the time you get off, right? It's doing a lot of preemptive work of saying no or yes where you can and holding you firm on your boundaries with regard to that. So there's a lot coming up. And like I said, this is just, we're not yet all the way out of the woods of this energy. The official day that the Aries and Libra, or the Libra and Aries eclipse leaves is January 11th, 2025. So a lot of what you guys are dealing with, there is still that 6-month period that this energy is going to show itself and come up and be very important for you with those choices. So, yeah, I think you guys have a lot of really good stuff. Like I said, Instagram, it's been real. I'm going to get off of here and go ahead and transition. If you want to hear all of this, because I am going to break down sign by sign horoscopes, follow me on YouTube. This video will be posted probably in the next 24 hours. If you're on Patreon, it'll be posted in the next hour or less. So that's a good reason to become a patron. This was an impromptu live. I am thinking about taking some eclipse readings. So if you are like, oh my God, everything you said, but I'm a little bit confused and I need to know about me, feel free to DM me or send me an email and hit me up and ask me exactly, what we need, and we can work something out in terms of price. It's not going to be more than $30. So yeah, since it's only one, but you only have 3 days. I'm only doing this tonight through Sunday, essentially. So if you want it, hit me up. Thank you for listening. Bye, guys. Okay, so YouTubers and patrons, my faves. So, like I said, patrons are going to get this first. YouTube will probably get this in a few hours, maybe tomorrow morning. But yeah, I want to start off by talking about my Aries and Libra axis people. So, since this eclipse is falling right on your first and seventh houses, a lot of this is going to have to do with your ability to self-assert and cut ties where you might need to, and really define yourself and your own personhood as it pertains to other people. Now, this can be difficult because some of you are going to be squaring off with this either on the home front or on the work front. There is an expectation that maybe has been silently like killing you in some way or draining you, that you're now being forced to kind of say enough is enough. This is even more complicated because energetically, it has a lot to do with your financial situation, what you're able to bring in. So you might find yourself needing to do some inner work about what you believe your self-worth is. So you're able to trust that you can maintain and have the salary and the money that you need to be able to survive in the way and thrive in the way that works for you. Yeah, that covers everything. So then we go over to my Taurus and Scorpio people. So you guys have this energy falling mostly in your 6th and 12th house. So a lot of things that come up could be like, sometimes with 6th and 12th house, I find that like it's the mundane. So maybe something that like you have a deja vu moment, maybe it's a dream, maybe when you're literally in the midst of doing something super mundane, you get some information or something takes you back. And it's doing so to kind of wake you up to a change you probably need to make on a subconscious level that's maybe blocking you on a conscious level. This is, going to be rather kind of complicated by the fact that you are being asked to start asserting yourself and kind of saying your piece in a way that wants you to shift maybe where you're at on a literal physical level or where you see yourself in life. So this might be some need for some spiritual development that's coming in for you guys. This might be a need to a complete change of environment in one way or another. So this could be friendships, this could be social media, this could be literally where you're at. I have a Scorpio rising friend who's getting ready to go like on a 6-month like sabbatical basically. So that could be, maybe it's you, that's where you're at. Because you need to get that for some form of spiritual healing that's really going to help you. Or it could be you get a mentor, you start taking classes or get a certificate of some kind that's really going to push you up because that's where you want to be moving forward. From there, we have our Gemini and Sagittarius energy. So like I said earlier, this energy falls in your Succedent houses. So a lot of what you're dealing with has to do with you know, what is fun to you, what you find pleasurable, what you're interested in, and the people who you're connected to and where they're at and what they're finding interest in. And so you could see that there's a little bit of a conflict here, because maybe what we all thought we resonated with is not necessarily where we are, whether it be romantically or platonically or even just inwardly. This is maybe complicated because perhaps it's a way that you make money or some form of additional income, and you're kind of being told that you need to pivot. Well, this might be that you need to do some deep meditation, some spiritual work, and really come back to center on yourself for how you're going to kind of remarket who you are and what your gifts are or what your talents are to a new group of people, even if it's friendships, right? Like, you want more friends. How are you going to put yourself out there towards meeting them? Maybe joining that run club or that walk club, and also pushing yourself to do it, right? Then we have our Cancer and Capricorn placement. So this energy is largely falling once again on those angles of your chart. For you, primarily houses 4 and 10. So you guys are thinking a lot about your inner life and what, you know, your family is, what your private life is like, what your home is like, but also how that maybe pertains to your outer life, your career. Some of you are like, I work from home. Is my home not comfortable? How am I separating myself from working at home and being in my home? And that can be like a rather complicated thing. You're also coming to terms with new ideas surrounding pleasure and what your interests are. Maybe you've recently fallen down a rabbit hole of something that you find really fascinating and you want to start getting more knowledge or depth on. Maybe it'll even trigger you to need to travel or get out of your own kind of space and get near someone who can act as a mentor or someone who can bring you some solid guidance. A lot of this is choosing to put yourself out there, using the boundaries that you need to do so, and being responsible with them. Then we have our Leo and Aquarius placements. So you guys have this energy mostly falling in your 3rd and 9th houses. So this is really waking you up to some new developments regarding your habits and routines, and where you see yourself now and where you're trying to go. Maybe you're learning that in order for you to, you know, make that move up to a higher position, you are going to have to go back to school, or you're going to have to really schmooze a little with a certain manager on your team or within your current work environment in order to get yourself there. Now, this is complicated because, again, you're looking for an increase of finances in some capacity, but it's a little bit complicated because the people who maybe are in charge are not necessarily so willing to give and relinquish. Some of you might need to really branch out and find other ways to explore making money that might not be only on a corporate level. And if you're already doing so, it might be time for you to find another way yet again. My Pisces and Virgos. So this energy also falls for you within your 2nd and 8th houses. So sustenance houses of value. So you're thinking a lot about what and where your money is, especially like where you see yourself putting your money and what it's building you towards within, you know, some plans and goals that you have for yourself. The thing is, you might be feeling rather stuck by other circumstances that are not your own. Maybe it's you or another person that kind of feels like you're being tethered to them and like where they're at in life, and you're not necessarily able to move in the way that you want to move. It might be time for you to think about gaining more opportunities for self-sufficiency. It might be time for you to do some self-exploration and get to the bottom of any setbacks that you're feeling, or anything that's kind of drawing you inward and not allowing you to trust yourself and your ability to self-sustain. So there you have it. Yeah. take care of yourself. This eclipse is like, you've got no more excuses for not taking care of yourself. And if you insist on continuing to ignore yourself, you're going to get a lot more of what you've already gotten. So you've got big choices to make, my friends. Like I said, if you like what you're hearing and you really want to book with me, you have until Sunday. What is that? September 29th, 2024. Shoot me an email at shantaeisloud@gmail.com. Head to shantaeoutloud.com and contact me directly. We can talk about them. These are, like I said, not going to be more than $30 because it's so close. And if you want that personalized reading, it's worth your time and money. So that's all she wrote, people. Thank you so much for watching this, and I look forward to talking to you guys soon. Bye.